There are mornings when you wake up and no one around you has any idea what you are carrying inside. You go through the motions, answer messages, show up where you are expected, and perhaps even smile when necessary. Yet beneath the surface, there is a weight that cannot be explained by lack of sleep or a difficult week. It is the exhaustion of a soul that has been fighting battles in silence for far too long. And if you are listening to this right now, if you are still standing despite everything that has tried to break you, then what I am about to say may be exactly what your spirit needs to hear. Chosen one, something happened this morning. Maybe nobody noticed it. Maybe there was no applause, no recognition, no dramatic sign from heaven. In fact, perhaps it felt so ordinary that you barely gave it a second thought. But in a single moment, you made a choice that separated you from the version of yourself that existed before today. You chose not to react when you had every reason to. You chose not to quit when disappointment told you to walk away. You chose to keep moving forward, even though your strength felt limited. You chose faith over fear. You chose peace over chaos. And the moment you made that choice, something unseen began to shift. Most people believe that life changes only after major decisions. But the lives of those who are truly chosen have never followed ordinary rules. The greatest turning points often begin with quiet decisions made in hidden places, moments when no one is watching and no one understands the battle being fought within. What you may not realize is that heaven pays attention to those moments. Not just the victories the world celebrates, but the silent acts of courage that happen behind closed doors. Sometimes a single decision made in faith becomes the doorway to an entirely new season, one that is already beginning to unfold even before you can see it with your own eyes. And before you dismiss what happened as nothing, I need you to look deeper. Have you been unusually tired lately? Not tired in your body alone, but tired in a place sleep cannot reach. Have you felt a heaviness moving through you, as if your soul has been carrying memories, battles, and burdens your mind has not fully processed yet? That weariness is not proof that you are weak. It is often the sign that something inside you is being stretched, refined, and prepared for a responsibility you have not yet stepped into. You may have noticed emotional waves rising without warning. Peace comes, then sadness, then a strange hope, then silence. Nothing outside seems to explain it, yet something inside keeps shifting. That is not instability. That is your spirit moving between old survival and a higher alignment. This is why the years behind you were not wasted. The waiting, the disappointment, the closed doors, the prayers that seemed unanswered, all of it was forming a kind of strength that cannot be taught in comfort. Esther did not become ready in a single moment. She was prepared in hidden rooms long before she stood before the king. And you, too, have been prepared in places where nobody clapped, nobody understood, and nobody saw the weight you carried. But heaven saw it. There is something you must understand about the way heaven responds to a chosen one. It does not always arrive with thunder. It does not always announce itself through a visible miracle. Sometimes heaven moves like a silent current beneath the surface of your life, changing directions, arranging encounters, delaying certain doors, closing others, and guiding unseen resources toward the place where your obedience has created an opening. There is an ancient word, often translated as return, but its deeper meaning carries the idea of turning with intention, of redirecting the path without abandoning the destination. It is like a divine recalibration, not punishment, not rejection, not proof that you failed. Recalibration means heaven takes where you are right now, with every wound, delay, mistake, prayer, and quiet act of faith, and begins building a precise path forward from that exact place. Think of a navigation system. When you take a different road, it does not collapse because the original route changed. It recalculates. It finds another way. It works with your current location. That is what happened when you chose peace this morning. That is what happened when you refused to become the pain that tried to control you. Heaven did not restart your story. Heaven recalibrated around your faith. The first thing heaven does when you act in alignment is rerouting. People who were never supposed to remember you suddenly think of your name. Conversations that were moving in another direction begin to bend toward you. Doors that were almost closed remain open a little longer. Opportunities that seemed assigned to someone else begin shifting because your faith created a new point of access in the unseen. The second thing heaven does is acceleration. What looked far away can move closer in a single moment. Joseph sat in prison for years, forgotten by the person who had promised to mention him. Then one night, Pharaoh had a dream. One memory returned, one conversation happened, and Joseph moved from confinement to authority in a single day. The delay was not denial. It was preparation waiting for the correct moment to unlock. The third thing heaven does is revelation. You begin to know things without knowing how you know them. A decision becomes clear, a warning rises gently, peace settles over something that should make you afraid. These are not random feelings, they are signs that your spirit is receiving direction from a higher place. Heaven is not only watching your faith, heaven is organizing around it. But there is a deeper layer to this, chosen one. Your faith does not move heaven because it is loud, it moves heaven because it is aligned. Moses was not confident when he walked back toward Egypt. He was not polished, fearless, or certain of himself. He had questions, he had resistance, he had memories of failure still speaking louder than the promise. Yet the moment he took one step toward what God had called him to face, something far greater than Moses began moving around him. The waters were not divided yet, but the path was already being prepared. Pharaoh had not released anyone yet, but heaven had already begun arranging the confrontation. The wilderness had not opened yet, but provision was already assigned to the journey. That is why you cannot judge your morning by what you can see. Just because the room looked the same does not mean the unseen remained still. Just because no one confirmed your choice does not mean heaven ignored it. Sometimes the most powerful movement begins before evidence appears. You may feel like one person taking one small step, but in the spiritual realm, obedience is never small. A quiet yes can disturb every chain that was built to keep you in place. There is a word that speaks to this shift, a word that means more than regret, more than saying sorry, more than turning away from the past. It means rising above the level of mind that fear once trapped you in. It means seeing from a higher place while your circumstances still look unchanged. That is what happens when a chosen one makes a faith-based choice. You are not pretending the battle is not real. You are choosing not to let the battle define the level from which you think. Survival makes everything feel urgent. It tells you to react quickly, protect yourself loudly, and expect disappointment before it arrives. But faith moves differently. Faith slows the soul down long enough to hear what fear could never receive. This is why your peace is powerful. This is why your silence shook something. This is why choosing not to return to an old pattern was not weakness, but authority. You entered a higher state of agreement with who God has been forming you to become, and from that place, clarity begins to return. The noise gets quieter. The next step becomes visible. Not the whole road, but enough light to keep walking. And now you must understand something that may challenge the way you have seen your entire life. God's plan for you is not a fragile line that breaks the moment you make a wrong turn. It is not a narrow script where one missed step means you have ruined everything forever. The divine intention over your life is alive. It breathes, it bends, it responds to faith. You may have been taught that if you made mistakes, delayed too long, trusted the wrong people, or wandered through seasons of confusion, then somehow you fell outside of what heaven wanted for you. But that is not the truth. When a chosen one returns to faith, even from a place of pain, heaven does not discard the journey. Heaven gathers every broken road, every lesson, every scar, and weaves it into a path more precise than the one you thought you lost. That means you are not too late. You are not disqualified. You are not standing outside the reach of divine purpose. Even the detours have been used. Even the silence has been used. Even the season that made you question everything has been used to shape the person who could finally make the choice you made this morning. But here is the deepest truth, chosen one. You are not simply trying to find God's plan. In many ways, you are part of the very reason the plan takes shape. Joseph did not just discover a path to Egypt's deliverance. His life became the vessel through which that deliverance was revealed. Esther did not merely enter a story that was already finished. Her courage became the turning point of the story itself. Moses did not walk into a plan that had no need of him. His obedience gave the plan its visible form on earth. And this is why your small choice mattered. You are not a random person trying to survive another day. You are a carrier of something heaven placed inside you before the world knew your name. You are a seer, sensing what others ignore. You are a light bearer, shifting rooms without needing to announce yourself. You are a warrior, not because you never feel weak, but because you keep standing while pressure tries to bend your spirit. You are also a cycle breaker. What you refuse to carry this morning may be something your family line carried for generations. And because you chose differently, something old lost permission to continue through you. Now I want you to return to that moment again. The moment this morning when you chose differently. Maybe it happened in your room, in your car, at work, in silence, or while no one around you knew a battle was taking place inside your chest. From the outside, it looked ordinary. But in the unseen, that moment carried weight. Something began to redirect. A door paused before closing. A thought entered someone's mind. A conversation shifted before it reached you. A delay began turning into preparation. A burden you thought was only pain began revealing itself as formation. This is why you must stop calling your hidden victories insignificant. Every time you respond from faith instead of fear, you are training your spirit to live from a higher place. You are no longer reacting from the wound. You are responding from identity. And that is where your true frequency changes. The old version of you needed proof before believing. The new version of you believes because something deeper has already recognized the truth. You do not need the whole path today. You only need enough light for the next step. And when you take that step, heaven moves with you. So before this message ends, receive this clearly. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not standing outside the timing of heaven, wondering when your life will finally begin. The years that felt delayed were not empty. They were building depth, wisdom, discernment, and a kind of strength that cannot be manufactured in easy seasons. Now release the belief that your quiet choices do not matter. Release the story that says you are too small for heaven to notice. Release the fear that one mistake erased your calling. Release the old survival mode that taught you to expect disappointment before hope could even breathe. You are a seer. You are a light bearer. You are a spiritual warrior. You are a cycle breaker. And what was activated in you today must not be buried again beneath doubt, noise, or the opinions of people who never understood your assignment. From this day forward, begin your mornings with intention. Ask yourself, what am I choosing today? What am I releasing today? Who am I becoming today? Then walk as someone who has already been seen, already been called, already been prepared. Because this morning, you did not just choose faith. You chose back, and heaven moved.